All right, kid. You ready to do this? I'm happy to help you with these pitches. It's this is one of your first kind of gigs with Miramax. It's a lot safer here now. we got your script ideas there.
I got them ready to go, mister.
That's great. I got mine too. Let's head on in here.
All right.
All right, Cliff, Kevin, it's good to see you here. Here you guys got some ideas you want to pitch us. Let's make what to do, because time is money and all that sort of stuff.
Oh boy, I'm really nervous. Okay. Do you mind if I start?
You better get going, kid, because I ain't got time for this. One of you's got to start talking. I'm gonna kick you out.
Okay. I got this great idea. So Stephen King just put out this new book.
I'm with you so far.
It's great, and we're gonna do. I figure a movie version, and they're like shooting like kids' consciousnesses at a tower to knock it down.
The hell are you talking about? I think that's a pass on us. I might want to relook at that book. I think Stephen King might have some head trauma left over from that car accident he was in.
Oh no, one down.
Don't worry, kid. I got you here. Okay. All right. Hey. All right, Roger. How you doing? I'm doing pretty good there, Cliff. Let's hear what you got. Okay. So, here's what I'm thinking here. All right. It's been 2 decades or more since they've done, get this, The Lone Ranger. I mean, you guys are coming at me with these Western pitches. I don't know what's going on. Look, can you get anybody to be in this thing? Like, some star power? I mean, it's a hard sell with The Lone Ranger. I think we could probably get that Johnny Depp guy. He could probably do it. See, he's going to be the Lone Ranger. Nice action vehicle for him. He hasn't done anything really like that in a bit. Nah, I think maybe he'd be like Tonto. He's a white guy. He's got range. Roger, trust me, Roger, we can do this. Cliff, it's a pass. It's a hard pass. What do you got, kid? Come on, kid, keep firing.
Cliff, I thought you had it. He's like a chameleon. Okay.
I see, this the thing. The studios, they're all like this woke thing. I don't know what people are talking about.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I got it. We do a movie about a game that everyone loves.
All right, so with you so far, like a video game. They're starting to kind of come around again. The Rock did that Doom thing. It wasn't too half bad.
Truth or Dare?
What? Do you mean? Do you want to like remaster or re-release that Madonna documentary? I don't think we can get the rights to that, man.
I mean, she can be in it if she wants to. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about like they play the Truth or Dare game in the movie.
That they did that in the Madonna movie. Is this a documentary, a road picture you're trying to pitch me here, kid?
No, it's deadly and it's a horror movie.
Look, that genre right now is it's a real money drainer. I mean, we couldn't sell it right now, unless you can get David Boreanaz or someone from like I don't know, Buffy or something to be in it. I think we're gonna take a hard pass on that one too, guys. Do you got anything else?
We failed.
Shut up, kid. We can pull this one out. We can figure something out. I'm not gonna let you lose your apartment. You just got here to Hollywood. I'm not gonna let you lose this whole thing. We're gonna save this. All right. Just listen. Just listen to your buddy Cliff here. All right, Kevin? Calm down. All right? Now listen. I got this journal that Weinstein left behind when he took off in 2005. It's got this story about how he, impregnated some chick by switching his jizz out with some other guys.
When I pick a movie, that's when I'm under pressure now. The question always comes back to me, what were they thinking now? Whoa, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
Oh, what's up, everyone? It is time once again. What were they thinking? I'm still a little disturbed after watching this movie. This is Brendan.
Love is in the air, and this is Nathan. Love is in the air.
And this is a special episode, Nathan, because neither you nor I picked this film.
No, this one was picked by my lovely wife, Patty, as is our tradition over here in the month of love, February. What were they thinking?
We do that for the first half of the month of February. Patty has picked this movie, and this is the What Were They Thinking podcast, where we talk about bad to questionable movies. I like to put the intro halfway into the show sometimes.
You know what? I feel that most folks who are listening already kind of know the shtick, and I don't feel we're past the point where a new person would have switched off at this point. I mean, if they were going to switch off, they were going to switch off after the end of that intro.
What were they thinking? Were they talking about drywall or something?
That was a harrowing opening.
The Switch is what we're talking about.
Not the Nintendo Switch.
And not the Change-Up, which is what I thought this was originally when you told me. And I was like, I think I liked that movie, but it's been a long time. And then I started to watch this, and I was like, I think so I didn't think I'd seen this, but then I think I did, and I just blocked it out of my memory. And I don't even think at the time when I watched it, I saw it as problematic as I saw it now with modern eyes. By modern, I mean 11 years ago.
It is weird that Jason Bateman would be in a movie called The Switch, and also in a movie called The Change-Up, which is a body switch comedy.
That threw me completely off. So weird. But I mean, this movie was moderately successful. It cost $19 million to make. I'm assuming that's only because of the actors involved.
I'm guessing because there's some prominent current stars at the time and a few that were on the rise.
It made about $50 million. So I mean, it made its money back. It was a moderate success. Made double its money back and a little bit more.
Yeah.
Nathan, weave us a tale of the Switch, and people, you're probably thinking to yourself, how can this lightweight comedy from 2010 with Jason Bateman and Jennifer Aniston be iffy at best? Well,
okay, well, unrelated to the opening, this is actually not based on a Harvey Weinstein journal entry. This is actually based on a short story called The Baster. The reason why it's called The Baster is because Jennifer Aniston plays
Cassie.
Cassie, okay.
Yep.
Take your word on that. Who is, a single young go-getter in New York who wants to have a baby but doesn't want to take all the time to, get married and have the relationship and stuff like that. And hey, it's 2010, and that sort of thing can happen at ease. So she's going to be artificially inseminated. Her friend Walter, played by Jason Bateman, he takes a bit of an affront to this, maybe, simply because he's got a crush on her, and feels like that that maybe they should be a couple, but he just doesn't really do anything much about it because he's a rather indecisive chap. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
So Jen Aniston, Cassie, goes ahead with the plan to have the seed of one Patrick Wilson.
The seed
Roland.
The seed of one
seed of
Patrick Wilson.
The seed, or the seed of Roland. So this could have almost been a gunslinger prequel.
It's
Or sequel.
Oh no.
Or alternate timeline. But so yeah, okay, so she does it, but at the party that she has for this, which that is ridiculous, Jason Bateman, Walter, switches out the cup of semen, and 7 years later, because she gets pregnant, and I thought the idea was her being a young go-getter is basically she wanted to have a kid, her career, stay in New York, but not have to worry about the whole husband thing. No, she gets pregnant, moves back to the Midwest. 7 years later, gets another gig with ABC, and moves back to New York. And Jason Bateman, Walter, meets her son and is pretty sure that the boy is Sebastian is his son, and he has to figure out how to tell Jen Aniston, hilarity ensues. And by hilarity, I mean some really problematic and kind of creepy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, I thought Jason Bateman's character was really uncomfortable. Even before that stuff happened, I was like, oh, he's a creep.
There's, watching this movie, there's parts, I was all over the place with this. I'm not gonna lie. There was there's old version of me who sympathized with him because, he just, he felt that he was friend-zoned, as they liked to say back then. There's also, looking at him and his behaviors, he clearly has some sort of spectrum disorder that's not been diagnosed. Also, there's parts of me who they are also like you, where he's a creep, and this movie, I'm pretty sure would have him in jail for some sort of rape or some sort of sexual assault, because he switches, he gets her pregnant against her consent. I mean, he doesn't like forcefully or physically rape her, but
I mean,
it's still the same outcome. So
yeah, outcome.
It's not
shit.
It's not Elmer Fudd doing it to Porky Pig, so we can't joke about it, Carlin.
No.
Anyhow, that's basically the movie. So, pitter patter, let's get at her, man, because this is gonna be, for something that's supposed to be lighthearted and a rom-com, this movie is harrowing in some parts. In fact, I'm just gonna need this one. There we go. It's just to dull the pain of talking about this.
When I heard this movie was picked, I kind of thought, okay, it's just like an easy breezy,
beautiful cover girl.
Yeah, beautiful cover girl. Light
you
comedy.
Actually were expecting a Medea movie, weren't you?
Well, Patty's pick. I mean, I was sure that was coming, but I was wrong. Surprisingly, after what we covered last week. But yeah, this movie starts, oddly enough, with narration from Jason Bateman, which we never really go back to. There like a couple more times, but
two other times, but
odd.
It's not. It does not run throughout.
Yeah, I wrote that down because I wrote down the part of his speech where he says, "We're always rushing around and late. I guess that's why they call us the human race."
And you think of other movies that use this, this device. The best example I can think of off the top of my head is The Big Lebowski.
Mm-hmm.
We have Sam Elliott like narrating stuff throughout, filling you in on characters and things like that. It's irksome when it seems like it's going to be something, then it's not for a long time, and then it appears ever so slightly, and then goes away again until the end. And it's like, that was pointless. Why did you do that?
These are my best friends in the world, and here's our story.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now watch our travelogue in Paris.
Yeah, Alone in the Dark did it too.
Oh, yeah.
Started up with it and just dropped it off.
Oh, I barely remember anything about that fucking movie. Anyway.
That's good. Most people will block out traumas.
I remember most of Postal, though, unfortunately. Okay, start us out. What's going on here? Jason Bateman walking around.
Well, he's walking around, and right out of the gate, we get to know that this movie is going to be really cutting edge, because not only are they body shaming in the opening credits, but they're also making fun of people with Tourette's.
Yeah, it was a weird way to start the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, we're really coming in hot here, because they have that guy yelling out, like, one of the lines he says is fat peddling hooker looking bitch.
Yeah, because he's describing the people who are around him in unflattering terms, but all the people he's describing around him in unflattering terms, with the exception of Walter, or Wally. They call him Wally, don't they?
I think it's Wally, yeah.
Yeah,
he's definitely a Wally.
You don't want to Wally it up, because his name gets used as a verb a few times in this movie.
Well, it should. But
other than him, all the people this guy is describing are women. And as I watched this movie, and as things progressed with the whole friend zone thing, and Jason Bateman's character almost feeling entitled to being with Jennifer Aniston, I'm like, I think an incel wrote this script.
You sent me that text I think yesterday, and that I was like, you just summed up exactly what I thought when I was watching this. Like somebody wrote that. I would like to. I mean, I don't need to look up the writer. Maybe I'll find out later. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's like he served in the last presidential cabinet or something. Written by Stephen Miller. What?
Well, I'll say this. Not Stephen Miller, but Mnuchin. Big in the film production before he got into Trump's. So he actually, it pains me to say, he actually helped produce or executive produce, I can't remember which, one of my absolute all-time favorite movies in Mad Max Fury Road.
Thankfully, he probably didn't have that much of a creative hand in it, but
well, no, it was providing the money. He invested in the movie to be made, and I'm glad that happened. It's just it stings a little to know something that's so great has something kind of awful attached to it.
I mean, yeah, it's like when I enjoy a 90s Miramax movie, I'm like, oh, but in the background.
Right.
Goodwill Hunting, why couldn't you have been made by Fox? You spoke about how this movie opens with body shaming and making fun of people with Tourette's. It also opens with Jason Bateman. One of the first things he does when he meets with Jen Aniston, when Wally meets with Cassie, when Wally met Cassie, that should have been what the title of the movie was. He shows her a picture of a close-up of his scrotum.
But, okay, so that, while it might seem to be problematic, we do come to understand quite quickly that they've known each other for quite some time, and there's apparently supposed to be a real closeness there.
Now take that for a second, but then he has no problem doing that, and she's obviously like, oh, I don't need to see this. But then when she makes a comment about how her doctor said her cervical mucus is gorgeous, Jason Bateman's like, ew, what? Don't tell me that.
Is one or two things. It's either super lazy writing, or, again, he is on the spectrum. Because he has... I find that his social cues are really off. Like, as a person in this movie, as a character, the social cues are just gone, out the window. He'll send you a picture of a growth on his scrotum at the drop of a hat, but cannot hear the term cervical mucus.
Sending you a picture of his scrotum at the drop of a hat. I love it.
The drop of a hat. Yeah.
And yeah, she tells him about her mission to get some semen, right? The hunt for semen.
Right.
My favorite Alec Baldwin, Sean Connery movie. Not the hunt for red semen. Don't watch that one. That's not good.
And what obviously this whole thing, this is the first thing that we get is them having lunch, and she is telling him that she wants to have a baby, she wants to get pregnant. Mm-hmm. And my note is she doesn't have any like parents or siblings or any other close person that she'd want to tell this to. It seems really out there that she's just telling this to one of her guy friends who at this point I don't know that they're super duper close. But I feel like, because she makes a point to say that you're the first person I'm telling. It's like, why wouldn't you like talk to your mom and your dad about it, or somebody else
or her friend Debbie, played by Juliette Lewis?
Yes, in a role that didn't make me rage. So good for Juliette Lewis. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm sure she's a sweet girl, but it's just, I find that every choice she takes is a coarse one. I mean,
she gets typecast a lot too, I think.
Yeah.
She's like, she's the flighty girl or whatever.
I always find she's either flighty ditzy or just crude.
Yeah.
Crude and coarse.
Another gross thing I noted here was, so they're on like the subway because Jason Bateman won't shut up about how this is a bad idea. And then he's like, wait a second, why don't you just, what's wrong with my semen? And I'm like, no. What are you doing?
But not something that would be on the pale of someone, in that situation. And the only reasons why I think that, and it helps me, one, cope with this movie, and two, if that is the case, and they are as close as they are as friends go, she would she wouldn't bat an eye at something like that. If she knows he has like a diagnosis and he has terrible social cues, it's not beyond the pale for him to blurt out something like that, and for her to be like, "Oh no, I couldn't do that."
Yeah, I like how she pretends it's not the weirdest thing he's ever asked.
Because it may not have been.
It may not have been. It's still it's like, you mind if I'm just going to be the father of your child? Like, that's not what artificial insemination is about, pal. You don't. Yeah, and then Jeff Goldblum enters the film.
Yes. Who Wally also sent scrotal pictures to.
Is he just sending pictures of his scrotum all over town? To
people who he considers close friends.
Yeah. What do you think this looks like? You think there's a lump there? Like, what's he doing? I'm gonna say right now, the biggest waste of Jeff Goldblum. Like, he's just playing the guy to be there. He's just playing. Well, he's his boss, and he's also playing like the best friend role to be like, oh, it looks like you're in the friend zone.
Almost like a boss or a man mentor.
Yeah.
A mentor, if you will.
Oh, shit. He's like, well, Wally, it seems like you're in the friend zone again. I'm like, is this really the best stuff we can write for Jeff Goldblum?
Well, I mean, Wally points out that old Goldblum's been married 3 times, so he doesn't necessarily know if he should be doling out relationship advice.
There's also one point where we see Jeff Goldblum's wife for like a split second, and I swear to God, I thought she was like 17 years old.
I think that's kind of the idea. They're one of the reasons why he's got the DiCaprio syndrome.
It's like, once you hit 25, you delete my number.
Yeah.
Actually, I think almost all the guys in this movie are pretty much creeps. Actually, the villain in this movie, which we only I don't want to talk about too much until we get to him, might be the best person. I'm going to say that right now. I think he's a better person than the other 2 characters. And he's not a great guy, and then we meet Juliette Lewis playing the other best friend character.
Yes.
And she's like, "Why would you tell Wally?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why did you tell Wally?"
This is at her birthday party, and she's supposed to be like, I have note dancing Juliette Lewis. Yes,
when they're at the party, and I think one of the lines that made me laugh the most is there's some like douchebag hitting on Jennifer Aniston. He's like, they haven't really made an honest kickboxing film yet. And I said, yes, they have. It's called Kickboxing Academy. Because what's more honest than a brother and sister going to Pound Town?
Gross. I was going to make a nice lighthearted reference to the film Kickboxer 2 starring Sasha Mitchell.
And I ruined it.
Honest as the day is long. Kickboxer 2. This is where I figured the incel had written it, because this is the first time Wally really sees Cassie actively, I guess, interviewing, for the lack of a better term, for possible donors, and he gets kind of possessive, so much so that he sends the guy to Washington Heights to ask about sex and drugs.
But how does he get him alone to give him that information, Nathan?
Oh, he locks her out on the patio or the balcony because they go out to talk or discuss a little bit. He's talking like, oh, the guy's married, and he's lying to you about it because you can see the tan line. Like he's being all monk about it, or psych, depending on which USA weekly detective show you watched. And then when he goes inside, he locks her out on the balcony, then goes in and tells the guy who's destined to make Kickboxing Academy 3 that he should go to Washington Heights, this place, this address, and ask, because that's where she's going, because she really wants to have sex, and she's going to get a lot of drugs. So go ask about sex and drugs at this place. And we find out, he sent him to Washington Heights because Harlem, at this point, was far too gentrified.
Also, this guy is a fucking idiot if he believes Wally.
So he believes Wally, because look at him,
that's
he's
what
a
I mean.
fucking
like,
idiot.
He's a fucking, like, beyond the realm of stupid. He's like, this girl I was just talking to.
She's definitely not. If he hadn't done it, and this guy had actually managed to get around to being with Cassie, she would not be getting the quote unquote killer sperm that she wanted when they were talking about it in the subway. And even Wally at the time has this real Beverly Goldberg type anecdote for Jennifer Aniston or Cassie where he's like, I heard about this girl who thought she was getting a Harvard educated, and it turned out the sperm actually came from a homeless man. And she rightfully says, you didn't read that anywhere. You're just making this up.
And I think she also tells him to get lost, basically, right? There's like, we need to be apart, I think, for a bit.
No, that happens. That happens after this. Yeah. She does say a couple of times at the first of the movie this thing that I thought I was like, this is gonna be pounded into my head, and I'm gonna hate this saying by the end of the movie. But luckily, I only heard it twice. That life was in session.
Yeah.
But yes, because she gets quite upset about him doing this. And says that we need a timeout. Actually, is what she says. And
then of course we get the very necessary Jeff Goldblum character being like, "What does it even mean? What's a timeout, Wally? Friend zone. I'm eating a chocolate bar on a treadmill. I'm eccentric." I love Jeff Goldblum, but I'm just gonna overstate it. Give him something to do. It's just
they gave him a check to cash.
It's just such a boring character.
So I'm guessing weeks, maybe months, I'm not sure, go by. Wally comes home one day and he's got a bit of mail, and in the mail is an invitation to her insemination party that's filled with little sperm confettis. I was like, that's not a thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I thought about that and I was like, is that like the most like hippy dippy thing? Like, has that ever happened? I'm sure it's happened, right?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I don't know, because when they actually get there and they show that the doctor who's there, it looks like, he looks like he'd be colleagues of that former doctor of Trump's who recently passed away.
Oh, did he pass away recently?
Yeah, but this is in Feb, so a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow, I didn't know.
Yeah, no, it was, a few other things were happening at that time. So yeah. It would be understandable if it had flown under the radar. There was a bit of an insurrection, or an attempted one anyways.
Yeah, the news was a bit top heavy that week.
It really, really was. So yeah, I don't think it's a thing.
No, and that doctor, by the way, is blazed out of his mind at this party, and he's about to perform like an insemination.
Yeah, it's a medical procedure that I don't feel is something that's done in someone's apartment on the Lower East Side.
No.
It's something that is done in a clinical setting because you need things to be sterile.
You need to lay out
except for the sperm, then that should not be sterile.
You need to lay out that tissue paper,
right?
Wear those like assless skirts or shirts or whatever.
The Johnny shirt.
Yeah, there we go.
Johnny shirt. Yeah,
Johnny shirt. Wally shirt.
So Wally's not. He's there. He goes to the party. Probably out of, I don't know. I don't think it's a sense of obligation, because I think he's got real feelings for her, and I think he sees this as her olive branch for them to be friends and start talking again.
Yeah.
So he goes there again, knowing full well what's going to be going on. So either in a situation like that, you either say, no, I'm sorry, I have deeper feelings for her, and I don't think I can go along. I don't feel like I could stand by with this and not keep my mouth shut, so I won't go. Or you say to yourself, you know what? I love her, and if that means she's not in love with me, I can still support her, and I will be there for her. You do one of those two things, okay? That's what you do. You don't do what Wally does, because what Wally does next is quite harrowing.
Well,
so,
yeah.
He goes to the party, which is, of course, adorned with tons of fertility statues, because it was the party was decorated by Debbie Epstein.
Yep.
No relation.
Oh, I hope not. Although, if we're talking about the person who wrote this movie, who knows?
So when he gets there, he asks her what it's going to be and how this is all going to go. And Debbie's kind of laying this out to him and saying that, yeah, we're going to have a party and we'll talk and do some guests. And then she's going to go back in this back room with this baster and she's got like a turkey baster, which I'm guessing this is where the title from the short story comes from. Mm-hmm. And she's gagging on Wally because, like, no, there's a doctor here. He's right over there. Oh, you mean the one doing bong rips? Okay. And then she slaps Wally about the face with the baster like she's cracking him in the face with a penis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Wally meets the donor, Roland, played by Patrick Wilson, who, I gotta say... would have been
a really good Eddie in The Dark Tower, not a Roland.
I think that I don't think I'd seen Patrick Wilson in a lot of comedy, and watching this movie, I'm like, man, Patrick Wilson has some solid comedic timing.
What about Hard Candy? He was in that.
Yeah, hilarious
film.
So funny. My favorite part was when he got his balls cut off.
Oh, really? My favorite part was at the end when he hung himself.
Yeah, that was a true comedy of errors.
She tricked him. I'll tell you, he really thought Ellen Page was somebody else.
But yeah, no, he has like some pretty good timing, and I like that one joke where he's like, "I feel like the prized hog."
Yes, well, because all the girls are checking him out. We find out that he's doing this because him and his wife need the money, because he teaches like a feminist literature course. Yeah. He teaches like one class at a university, and she's like a public school teacher, so they're not making a ton of cash.
Just realized too, if this is truly like written by an incel, of course the villain is teaching a feminist literature course, right?
Right.
Like, ooh, what a weirdo.
All those feminazis.
Oh god.
It's a term I haven't heard in a while.
Welcome back to the Rush Limbaugh Show. My sponsors currently are, looks like they all dropped out. Goodbye forever.
So, as he's kind of talking, Debbie comes in and puts a Viking helmet on him. I'm guessing, again, to represent fertility, mm-hmm. and they take him off to the old five-knuckle shuffle. So that Jenna Aniston will have, some seed, mm-hmm. As she likes to say in this movie, in a not a creepy way at all.
It's really creepy.
Yeah. And then I think Juliette Lewis, Debbie, drugs Wally.
Yeah, well, she gives it to him. She's like, here, take these like fucking pills, and Wally's just like, okay. Which, by the way, that doesn't really go with Wally's character, does it? I don't think he would just be like, I think he would have to study that for 10 years before he took it.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Like, I would have, if I were shooting this movie, I would have changed my name to Alan Smithy, but the way this could have worked is because she gives it to him at first and she says it's herbal, meaning that he would then think like it's just some I don't know, St. John's Wort or a ginkgo biloba or something like that, right? He pops it, and then she says that I got it from my mother, but it might as well be pharmaceutical. So I take to think that she gave him like a high dose marijuana capsule, because he then becomes a little inebriated. He talks to Cassie, and they kind of make up. She puts on her midsummer crown,
and
then goes to leave. I saw that, and I was like, oh no. So of course, she goes off. He thinks to go off to do her, do her business, but I guess not, because they go out to do the big speeches and stuff. He cheers. He clinks his glass on a boobtacular fertility statue.
Mm-hmm.
Realizes he's got to pee. And then, high as balls and drunk as a skunk, goes into the bathroom and finds Roland's deposit.
Which, I mean, they probably should have put that somewhere hidden more. I think that was right there on the wall, on the cabinet. There's drunk people at that party, Nathan.
Again, clinical setting. I feel that this would probably put into some sort of refrigeration unit.
I don't think it would have. I don't think it would be like of any use just sitting there.
No, it would not be left just out.
Yeah.
In for anybody to grab a hold of and start going.
I just laughed. He went in. It was just slathered on a newspaper. Patrick Wilson's like, you could just scoop that off, right?
Yeah, just scrape it off the penthouse that I used. So
yeah, Wally's like playing with the jizz.
Wally and the jizz.
Wally and the jizz.
And I don't know, for some reason he's playing with it near the faucet for reasons.
The movie has to happen.
Right. Somebody startles him. He drops it into the sink because he's like, someone's in here. And of course, now the sample is ruined. Well, you know, what's a guy to do? But he's got to replace it.
Okay.
And
what's a guy to do? Hey, Roland, we're gonna need a second sample, buddy.
Well, that's just it. He's so neurotic, and he's now just getting back onto the good side of his friend. But again, he is also quite inebriated, that all of those things are piling up, and he immediately thinks, well, the only thing I can really do is just replace it and hope the first one doesn't take. Because here's an interesting tidbit, because it's a tidbit that's interesting.
It's an interesting tidbit.
Right. Oftentimes with artificial insemination, the first couple times might not necessarily take.
Yeah.
It's actually a very common thing.
I mean, inebriated as he is, that does not get him off the hook.
No, it doesn't. But I feel that that some of the things that happen within the movie about that first one taking is a little far fetched too, because the cup that he deposits his seed into would have been quite tainted by the New York tap water that would have been all through it. And that sort of thing. I don't think that the specimen would have been all that viable. But yeah, like you said, the movie's got to happen.
Yeah.
And how does the movie happen? Because there's not a whole lot of magazines and stuff in the in that bathroom. So old Wally's got to crank one out to Diane Sawyer.
I gotta wonder if Jason Bateman ever appeared on like The View around this time to promote the movie. I don't know if she was on.
No,
The View.
She's on Good Morning America.
Yeah, Good Morning America. If he appeared, because he probably did, because they do interviews with promoting their latest projects. And what
Here's
if he was
the thing,
just
though,
like,
if they used her picture and they actually used clips of her later in the movie. So I feel that she would have at least had an inkling of knowledge as to what was going on, because they would have had to get permission for using her likeness in the movie.
Oh, for sure. I just think the interview could still have come very awkwardly. So then, when I jizz into the cup, because I look at nice pictures. Oh, what pictures are you looking at, Jason? Newscasters.
I masturbated to you.
various journalists from across the years. But yeah, so he replaces it with his jizz. And then apparently Jeff Goldblum doesn't fire him the next morning.
Well, actually, I got a note here because he goes to work the next day, hungover as all get out, and you see him on the elevator looking like absolute hell. He steps out of the elevator, quietly or calmly throws up into a trash can, and then proceeds to go to work, and I have the note, "Been there, fella, been there." Jeff Goldblum basically says that you showed up at my place at like 3 a.m, ranting and raving about Vikings and trades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it took them a really long time to make a Diane Sawyer joke, which I was like, man, how come I haven't? Oh, there it is. There's the Diane Sawyer joke. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, and Wally is like, well, that all sounds crazy. I can't remember a thing. I'm sure it's nothing. Anyway, I'm going to go see Naked Hamlet now.
Right?
And we go back to the voiceover at this point, right? Because that's when Cassie is like, listen, I'm moving back to the Midwest.
Yes, because she reveals to him that she's pregnant. Again, we get no real idea of the passage of time.
It has to have been weeks, right?
Well, I would say it would have to have been a couple.
Yeah.
Maybe a week at least, because, I feel like if she was pregnant, she would have got the symptoms first, and then you would go to the doctor for a legitimate test. So you're looking at about a 2-week turnaround on that.
And I'm surprised.
Most women, I will say this, are advised not to kind of mention about it until you're through the first couple of months, almost, because things can be really touch and go in the first few months of pregnancy. The narration is back for a short time, and as any true considerate good friend does for someone, she bought him a dog before she left.
Which would have been fine if Wally...
No, it wouldn't have. No, it would not have.
No, I'm saying it would have been fine if Wally actually was a person that could care for something else.
I would have a real hard time buying a pet for somebody who is not living in my house.
I mean, I think it'd be different if the person was like, man, I really want a pet.
That is different. Wally is not like that.
No, that's what I mean. It's weird in this movie because it's like this hateful guy doesn't like anything. Like, why would you give him a pet?
So, I don't think it's so much that Wally's hateful. Is just that he is he's neurotic and pessimistic.
Oh, do you mean like in the next scene where he goes on a date with a girl and his like whole rambling joke starts off like real funny, like, oh, maybe we'll do this and we'll do that, and then gets super dark when he talks about like, then I'm gonna just be in a hotel masturbating and speaking to women that are way too young for me.
Yes, I actually have it as the their Norwegian exchange. Because it's super dark.
It's so
really, really dark.
And she's like, bye.
Yeah. It was at this point that Patty noticed Jason Bateman's Owen Wilson-esque nosed.
Oh.
Just the tip.
Yeah, just a little break. Oh, just the tip. God damn it. And then we don't really spend a lot of time between her leaving and her coming back, because then I guess it's like 7 years later, and she's like, hey, calling up Jason Bateman, like, I'm coming back to New York, and, I've got my kid now, and he really wants to meet you. He collects picture frames. Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird that he's a weird kid?
Oh, also, he says, should I get him like a little basketball or something? And she goes, he's not that athletic, just as he is missing the shot of the crumpled up paper into the waste bin.
I gotta question some of the things in this movie thinks are hereditary too.
Well, yes, there are a lot of things that this movie would get wrong if we're just talking on a straight hereditary thing, and there's not a whole lot of there hasn't been a whole lot of looking into as to whether how hereditary an autism spectrum disorder might be. Mm-hmm. But if it is indeed hereditary, some of the things that the kid does could definitely be chalked up to that. But I don't think they would be so specific as to be like they're exactly the same as your father.
That's what I mean. Like, there's literally a thing that Jason Bateman like moans when he eats, and then the kid does it too, and I'm like, I don't think that's passed down.
No, it could definitely be a situation where the kid really likes his food, and the textures or the flavors or something are just extra for him. But I don't think it would be a situation where he would be going just like the way Jason Bateman's character does.
Yeah.
He might just be like, Mom, this rice is really, really good. It's really, really good rice.
Yeah, you might act it out a different way. That's the thing. They do so many things that are like identical, and I'm like, okay, movie, calm down.
Yeah. But,
It's because the movie's nudging you, being like, huh? Maybe it's his kid, huh? We already know. We all watched the trailer, movie.
we watched the trailer. Oh, and we watched what he did at the first.
Yeah, exactly. We knew before the goddamn thing started.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the idea obviously is supposed to be kind of nudging him towards it too, because he still doesn't apparently remember doing what he did that night.
Right. Well,
and then the next shot, we show her guiding him to the table.
We got to get this in one. Get this in one, guys. She wasn't even looking at the character. I don't care. Cut. Go. Keep going. We've only got $19 million, and we spent all of it on our leads.
We are shooting in New York, and we need to get this done. I'm Jackie Mason for some reason.
Wait a second. Why is Jackie Mason directing this movie? He's such an old man.
It's kaput. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it.
You know what, Jackie? Clint Eastwood's still doing it. He's like 98 years old. You're good.
You see?
No, we meet the kid Sebastian, who tells at one point
who is a morose motherfucker.
Right here, smells like someone shit in his cereal.
Bang.
He tells a horrific story about ducks having holes drilled in their throats and food shoved inside because they're about to eat a duck that Wally pays for, like $85.
He called earlier to have it prepared, so and the kid says, I can't eat the duck. And I didn't need his explanation, because I know why he can't eat ducks, because ducks are awesome and you shouldn't eat ducks.
I've never had duck.
I haven't either. And I don't plan on it because ducks are amazing. And I feel that that's like one of the only times in my life where I feel like if I ate a duck, I am really running the risk of being doomed to hell for all of eternity, because they are quite possibly nature's perfect creature.
Wow,
Ducks are amazing.
I did not expect this take on ducks on this podcast.
Love ducks. Love ducks.
I mean, are you saying you don't love other animals that we eat?
I don't love them anywhere near as much. And I don't think they're anywhere near as awesome.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, then they kind of settle, like, he's like, I'll just eat rice with soy sauce. And Jane Aniston's like, no, it means he likes you. That's his way of liking people. How does he know?
I wrote, I hate this kid. I really hate this kid.
Yeah, How does he know what a lesbian is? Because then his mom, like, Jen Aniston is like, he thinks I'm a lesbian. It's the cutest thing.
It's 2010.
I mean, I guess he's 7 years old. I don't is she telling him what lesbians are?
She's a pretty progressive mom by all takes, everything that we see in this movie. So it's not beyond the pale that she would be upfront about that sort of stuff.
So she gave him his film education by them watching like Blue is the Warmest Color or some shit.
No, I think they probably ended up watching Requiem for a Dream.
Oh no. At least watch Bound, for God's sakes.
Gina Gershon and Meg Tilly.
Jennifer Tilly.
Oh, Jennifer Tilly.
Oh, Meg Tilly. Good lord. From Masters of the Universe. Oh, I don't know where.
Hey, no, that's Meg Foster.
Oh, Meg Foster. Who the fuck is Meg Tilly?
We have the best film podcast.
Oh.
Who the hell is Meg Tilly?
I don't know who that is. I thought that was Masters of the Universe.
No.
Oh, well, Meg Tilly, if you're out there, get at us on Twitter.
Get us on Twitter and don't hate us like, Wyoming.
Meg Tilly, check out our Patreon.
Come on. You can pick a movie. You can tell us to watch one of yours.
And if you could tell us what you've been in, that would be helpful too. Oh, Meg Tilly was. Oh, she's married to Colin. Oh, she was married to Colin Firth. Sorry, guys. She was in the Big
Chill. She was in the Big Chill.
Yeah, and Psycho 2.
Oh, we could cover that one.
All right, Meg Tilly, coming soon. Wow. So after that nonsense, Cassie tells the charming story about how she explains how Sebastian was born to him when he asks.
Oh yes, what is it she calls it?
She says, "Mommy,
seed father."
Yeah, she says, Mommy went to a stranger and asked very nicely if she could have some of his seed, and then she planted it in her belly, and then Sebastian came out. I'm like, that's horrifying.
No, if you'll excuse me, we have to go chase him down in an Apple store.
Yeah, he just goes in and Jason Bateman is like, he just went in that store that you told him not to go in. She's like, he'll be fine.
No, he does that.
Yeah, and this is where she meets, after they have their conversation, she finally meets with Roland, I guess, Patrick Wilson.
Yes, and this is actually probably the most unbelievable portion of the movie, that someone divorced Patrick Wilson, let alone cheated on him.
I do like how he speaks about it in a roundabout way. He's like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about how I can never look at a Pilates instructor the same way again, because that's who my wife cheated on me with. I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, again, I think he's the best part of the movie. I do like Patrick Wilson.
And he is absolutely portrayed as the villain in this movie, for the lack of a better term. Yeah. And it's another situation where I've watching these movies back, not just this movie, but other movies where guys like him are portrayed as the villain, and absolutely unrightfully so. Because the guy, okay, first of all, he hasn't been carrying a flame for Jennifer Aniston or Cassie forever. They were just kind of having coffee, and she seemed to take an interest in how he was doing, and their relationship grew out of them doing stuff and sharing their feelings. And he fell for her really hard, maybe a little too quickly, because as they note, he hasn't even been separated or divorced a year.
I think it's like 2.5 months, they say, later. Because
at one point, I think someone says he started this year married to somebody else.
Yeah. He confides in that to Wally later.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel that of all the characters who are in this movie, he's probably one of the most sympathetic, and he's held up to be like the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like a great guy, but like, yeah, he's definitely not as aggressively incel as Jason Bateman.
I actually feel kind of bad for him, because there's parts in the movie where he actually wants to connect with Sebastian, because him and his wife didn't have any kids. And he kind of wants this relationship to keep going as well as it has been going, and he wants to have some sort of connection, but he can't quite figure it out, because he's looking. I mean, he apparently has a very neurotypical life, and does not really know how to connect with a kid who could very possibly be on the spectrum.
Yeah, and exactly. And to the movie's credit, I will say they don't make him into a total villain. Like, they present him as the villain, as the antagonist, but they don't make him like a total raging asshole.
No, and even when his undoing happens, I think one of the first things that is said is, "I'm really sorry about this."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he does look at the picture of Sebastian and says, "Wow, I see a lot more of me in him than you." Because he's just a dunderhead. He's a dumb guy.
He's a bit of a flake. Yeah. But he's a lovable flake. I mean, really, when you get right down to it.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
I do like. So they have their conversation, whatever, they hit it off, and then I like the bit where Wally is hanging out with the kid, and he says, like, he talks about how he has hypochondria, and then when he describes that it's like the fear of having, diseases or whatever,
yeah.
Sebastian says, "Oh my God, I have that." That's a pretty good little bit there.
Yeah, and then of course they stand and walk the same, which is, I mean, he's got to drive that home, right?
Do you get it? Do you get it?
Yeah. I was kind of upset at this next point, because they actually talk. Sebastian confides in Wally about a bully that he's got at his new school, and saying that the kid tells him that he knows karate and stuff, and Wally tells him, it's like, next time, it's like, just act crazy. Like, you don't give a, what did he say? What
He says,
like,
you don't give a funyun.
A funyun, yeah, that's it. And I was like, he's like, just be absolutely crazy. And I was like, come on, just please, just say it. And he never says it. I really wanted him to say something along the lines of, just, he might know karate, but you know crazy.
Owen Wilson wasn't here to say it. Is this too where so he's kind of hanging out, Wally's kind of hanging out with Cassie.
Well, no, actually, the next thing that drive home the whole he's probably your kid thing, when he's going home on the bus, and some random lady's like, he's like a little version of you.
He looks just like you. He's like, it's not my son. He's like, she's like, whatever you say. But yeah, no, when he's hanging out with Cassie after this, there's a moment where Wally and Cassie are like looking at old photos. And
we find out she loved CNC Music Factory.
Yes, that too. But also when they see the photo of her in like bunny ears, and Wally is like, that was a mistake. And I'm like, on what planet is that costume a mistake for Jennifer Aniston, sir? Like he said it like it was like, what a wardrobe faux pas.
and she's actually like, oh, and there you are, of course, in no costume whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, well, you don't deserve anything in this movie if you can't see that is not a mistake. She wears it well.
Now, this is when things start to unravel. Uh-oh. And of course, just like everything else in life, anytime anything else just starts to unravel, it starts with a Diane Sawyer erection.
Again.
Which is also going to be the name of my next band. The Diane Sawyer erection.
I want to find that Good Morning America interview.
So he starts to kind of remember now because he can't understand why he's getting a boner to Diane Sawyer.
I mean, because he's human?
Right? Even Jeff Goldblum's character's like, oh, I always found her quite comely. that perfect ivory skin. And I was like, oh, stop it, Jeff Goldblum.
Now Jeff Goldblum was giving me a boner.
Because he's talking about Diane Sawyer.
Oh, sorry. I just accidentally did my new character, Mark Wahlberg, watching The Switch. This movie's giving me a raging boner.
Where's Ryan Reynolds? I thought Ryan Reynolds was going to be in this.
I mean, I'm pretty hot, but can you imagine if Ryan Reynolds was also in this?
I probably would have had to stop watching because, I would have lost interest after climax.
Mark, did you already climax? What? No.
So yeah, this is where he starts figuring it out. And he goes to Goldblum, and Goldblum actually says to him about the whole Diane Sawyer thing. He's like, why didn't you tell me that 7 years ago? He's like, what? You were crazy. You were out of your mind. You were drunk.
Yeah. We were only 30 minutes into the movie.
It's like, did you have access to his ingredients? Which is an actual phrase that is uttered a few times in the next bit of an exchange.
Ingredients.
Where where Wally does admit that he had access to Roland's ingredients.
Oh, I never want to hear it described like that again. That's worse than just saying jizz or cum. Just
start relabeling shit on like Pornhub.
Man,
girl takes a massive amount of ingredients to the face.
Girl swallows entire contents of ingredients.
All right, we're getting into a real misogynist area here. I think we should
ingredient kissing montage.
Oh, why do I drink? So Jason Bateman, he realizes that this has happened, and he has to say something. He has to tell the truth, which is one of the few times where he does the altruistic thing, or attempts to, anyways. Jeff Goldblum rightfully says you should probably talk to a lawyer first, because as we described earlier, pretty sure what he did is some sort of misdemeanor, felony, sexual assault at the very least. So, but he doesn't do that. He goes over to her place to tell her this, and we find Sebastian watching all the TV.
Yeah, just flipping.
Yes, and it's weird because it's a thing for this kid, for his, as far as his character goes, that is absolutely something that would be on a kid who's on the spectrum. This would be something, but Wally can't stand it, which at this point is like, okay, thank you for addressing the fact that he is not an absolute mini-me, because that is not how that works.
It's like one of the few times they do that, though.
Yeah. And then he tries to tell, he wants to tell Cassie, and she's like, I need to talk to you outside. So they go all the way outside, for reasons. And he starts to say, and she's like, I can't, it's and she thinks that he's trying to say that he's got feelings for her, which I'm guessing by the way she reacts is something she's been expecting for quite some time and may possibly be receptive to. Mm-hmm. And he, of course, blows the whole thing by saying, no, that's not what I was trying to say to you. And he says it with such a delivery that is like, how could you think that? That's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, you just blew it again, pal. Yeah,
because the first thing he could have said is like, no, that's absolutely a thing. Go on with that, expand on that, tell her all about that, and then reveal your awful, possibly criminally prosecutable secret.
Now, this next part may complicate the previous thing we talked about. No, but instead, and then when she's like, having a moment of like, oh no, forget it, nothing. He kind of finds out that she's been seeing like Roland, and then he goes into crazy like, oh, why? What's going on? Why are you with Roland? Why are you doing that, huh? What's going on? He's not that great. What kind of a guy is he? And I'm just like, whoa, dude, back the fuck off. You were about to admit that you put your jizz, you switched out Patrick
ingredients,
Bateman, Patrick Wilson's ingredients for your own, and you're mad that she's seeing a guy? Come on.
So we go the next day to Sebastian's party at a rock climbing facility, and well, obviously there's a bit that's made of it that this is not really the kid's idea, and then what the kid wanted to do made absolute sense from that kid's character. The only thing that really kind of got me was that Jen Aniston's, as like the super progressive mom who's telling her kid, what lesbians are, letting him, switch out his pajamas, and then of course stay up to watch all the TV because he has insomnia, doesn't put her foot down and say, no, he wants to have his party at a birthday party at a kill shelter to guilt his guests into adopting dogs. We're going to have his birthday party at a kill shelter so he can guilt guests into adopting dogs.
Yeah, no, she just lets this rock climbing happen. And and this is where I thought they were going to maybe make Patrick Wilson a crazy person, but they instead give that role to like one of his buddies or something, because he's like, hey, the important part is just to have fun, kid. Well, the kid's like stuck on the wall.
The one who's running the place.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought it was like his buddy too.
It could be his buddy, but I'm pretty sure he's the guy also running the place, because he's the one, hanging on to the safety tether.
Yeah, and then, eventually Patrick Wilson, superhero, gets up and gets the kid, and he runs straight to Wally and his mom, Cassie.
Yeah, what an ungrateful little bastard. He was stuck up on that wall, and Roland went up and got him down. The absolute thing the kid wanted to come down. And then when he gets down, he basically tells Patrick Wilson or Roland that your birthday idea sucks. I hate this place, and you're stupid. Yeah. It's like, you little motherfucker.
But this also leads to another great line from Patrick Wilson, because he wants to go he's like, I gotta talk to you, man. Do you want to go get a drink or something to Wally? And he's like, all right, fine. And then the scene opens with him saying it's he's just describing something, and he's like, the greatest place on earth, man. You gotta go to Michigan.
Upper Peninsula. Have you ever been to Michigan? He's like, I went to Detroit once. He's like, no, I'm talking about the Upper Peninsula. It's like, which is a really kind of shady, subtle dig at Detroit from the people who wrote this movie.
Yeah. And yeah,
but he the reason why is because he's got a cabin up there that he wants to take, Cassie and obviously eventually Sebastian too, so they can just get away from the city and have a nice weekend out in the wilderness. It's on a lake. I'm assuming it's quite beautiful because if we're talking about the same kind of place, it's essentially Canada.
Imagine if this movie suddenly veered off and it was revealed that Patrick Wilson had this cabin with intent to murder. He was just bringing...
See...
And then they really...
Then he's not... Then, yeah, because then Wally's not the worst person in the movie.
That's the only way they could have gotten away with making him a worse person. If he was bringing them out there to murder them. Well, I was upset about you switching out the sperm, but I guess now I should thank you. Holy shit, I'm surprised this incel didn't write that into the script.
And I'm certainly glad that the kid is not his kid, because Sebastian could have been turned out to be a serial killer too. I'm glad he's only a neurotic with possible autism spectrum disorder.
Oh boy.
So the switch.
Yeah, the switch. Oh, they end up heading to the cabin, right? And this is where Jen Aniston calls Jason Bateman, and she's like, can you pick up my kid? He has head lice.
Right, and this happens when he is she calls from like a payphone, and he is at like a framing store because he wants to exchange the frame that he got for Sebastian for a different one because, again, the kid collects frames.
Yes, with the pictures that come with them. Because he gave him a frame that didn't have the picture that came with it, Sebastian was very upset and said, "This is a used frame, take it back." So yeah, we get the whole lice cleaning sequence.
Which, I mean, all of this, I mean, in any other situation, this whole thing, him getting, close with Sebastian and doing stuff with him and them growing their bond, it would have been so sweet if it weren't for the underlying felony.
Right? It's always just like, it's like the devil on your shoulder, just like, hey, remember how we got here? And you're like, no way.
Right?
Get out of here, Lucifer. But yeah, so the lice stuff, and then the kid goes into this long thing about, like, I keep the frames with the pictures that come with them because of my crazy imagination.
And he wrote an absolute sketchy past for his uncle. I'm not going to lie.
What does he say again?
He said something along the lines of, like, he's like, that he was basically a thief. He describes his would-be grandfather as, he knows a lot of stuff, and he takes me fly fishing, and he's really nice. And but when he talks about what he has this picture of this guy that came with the frame, and it's his uncle, it's his dad's younger brother, and I'm pretty sure he talks about him being not only a thief but also either an alcoholic or a drug addict.
Oh,
at one point.
Jesus.
Like, just it's a really sketchy background for a kid to be writing for his uncle, especially at 7.
I have a question for you, Nathan. If you walked into a home and you saw, now there's two different situations I'm going to give you. You either see a picture frame with clearly the picture that came with it when it was purchased, or
right, because it's got the brand name and the UPC code.
Yep. Or you walk in and you see someone with a picture frame with a picture of their ex-girlfriend signed, autographed. What would be weirder?
That's a hard thing, but so if I'm in the first situation, I'm probably gonna leave as soon as I can, because the person that I'm dealing with is legitimately crazy, because for a fact they've come up with backstories for all these people that are in these frames that they bought, that still have the brand names and the UPC codes, and these are their friends and families, and will tell you with the utmost confidence that these are their friends and their family, and they love each and every one of them. that's unnerving. They're possibly sociopathic, maybe good, maybe bad, I don't know, but I'm not taking my chances. Right. If I walk into somebody's house and they got a picture of their girlfriend that's been autographed, the girlfriend autographed that picture, dude, is that your ex-girlfriend? Yes, ex-girlfriend. Man, she must have been nuts. Why would she give you an autographed picture of her like she was a celebrity? I don't know. The girl was crazy. Cool, let's go get some beer. He's not crazy. The girlfriend's crazy. So I know I'm safe. So yes, Sebastian has been successfully deloused. Mm-hmm. Jennifer Aniston, Cassie comes home the next day at breakfast, and Jason Bateman is there with a plastic shower cap because he got a little itchy. Obviously, hypochondria. He thinks that he has the lice.
Yep, and then he just goes to town again on Roland not being a suitable person because she's like, it might be getting serious. We might be moving in together. And I'm like, you don't have an argument here, Jason Bateman.
No, because the guy, okay, first of all, we established 7 years ago that he was teaching a class at a university. Chances are 7 years later, he's got a few more classes he's teaching. So he's a professor at a college or university. There's enough money in his family that he has a cottage on the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. He can easily afford to do rock climbing as a pastime. So not only is he financially fit, he is also physically fit. He seems like a really nice guy. He took you out for a beer and actually confided some pretty close personal stuff to you. So I would have to say, Jason Bateman, you are the villain in this movie.
Exactly. 100%.
Although I will say this for him. Roland actually calls pancakes flapjacks, which is absolutely a sign of psychosis.
Oh, okay, so he's the villain. There we go.
He's absolutely... He actually probably does have a murder basement in that cabin in Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Sebastian walks across town because he got beat up by a bunch of bullies, and he goes to, Wally's house. He's like, listen, I acted crazy, and I got my ass kicked. So Wally has to, bring him home. He shows up at Cassie's house, and Roland's gonna pop the question. So he's like, well, I better ruin this by telling her that I'm the seed guy.
He wants to tell her before this happens. Yeah. And of course, Roland he's really gung-ho to do this because, he thinks that, Cassie's the light of his life, and, he had a great time that weekend. Things are moving quite swimmingly as far as he's concerned, and he's got to get this done. Right. Because of the ingredients. So he kind of takes her into the room. So he's gonna do this whole thing in front of his older brothers and his I'm guessing it's his mom and dad are there. Debbie's there. And he's having this really the speech that he's prepared and stuff. And old Wally's like, I need to talk to you right now. And she's like, would you stop it? And he's like, I'm really sorry to do this. This is the one, again, the time where Roland gets an apology, I guess, but he gets the worst treatment in this movie. I feel so bad for Roland more than anybody else in this movie. But then Wally just, he spills the beans and or seeds, if you will. And Cassie slaps him across the face and says, "Don't ever talk to us again."
Which he got a flight.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know where he would fall at on the schedule of offenses. If it's a misdemeanor, if it's a felony, have we gone past the statute of limitations on this?
Oh, I'm just talking about her reaction. Just a slap in the face is a very light. A slap in the face and never see me again is pretty light.
Yes, that is.
And we got to get back on Wally's side, so we do get that scene of Jeff Goldblum being like, "Hey, I'm proud of you, man." So we're back on board with Team Wally, right? Nope.
Right. I got what's this one? Oh, I hear because he tries to give this speech right before he gets slapped in the face. I said, "Sir, you are no Jerry Maguire."
Yeah, exactly.
Because he does try to have this big speech about about her, being like the only one for him and stuff like that. And dude, as soon as you say that, as soon as you essentially say that I got you pregnant without your consent, all bets are off. You could quote Shakespeare and she'd be like, GTFO.
Yeah. Goodbye forever.
Right.
But I mean, about 5 minutes go by, and then Cassie comes back, and she's like, my son really wants you back in his life, and I can't be with Roland because he's not horrible like you are, so we should be a couple.
It's been at least a couple of days because he's been drinking booze from a deli.
Yeah. I mean, 5 minutes in movie time. It's a very short amount of time between that scene and then when they get together.
And so apparently now she's cool with it. Okay. No DNA test has been done.
No.
To make sure. But, and he actually asked her, will you marry me? And she says, probably. I was like, yeah, that's a fitting end to this movie.
But
just probably.
I think you mean the fitting ending is when Jason Bateman narration comes back and he says, what I'm starting to feel is that the human race isn't a race at all. And I'm like, what? Whoa. What's going on?
Yeah, and so we kind of flash forward to Sebastian's 8th birthday, which they don't have at a kill shelter.
No.
But they have a picture of a dog who's going to be killed, put on his cake, and Sebastian refuses to blow out the candles until someone agrees that they will indeed adopt Doug the dog.
And Debbie takes the dog, so I'm guessing that dog...
So Debbie loves the dog.
I was going to say, I'm guessing that dog dies shortly after. And that's the switch.
That's the switch.
So Nathan, is this movie worth a watch? A drunk watch with friends? Would you attempt head trauma to forget it, or avoid like the plague?
Yeah, I'm going to avoid it like the plague.
Oh wow, that's a harsh indictment.
Well, you know what, man? There's so many other better romantic comedies out there, and it's not even a genre that is on the tippy top of my to-do list when it comes to watching movies. First of all, the way in which the kid is born is very problematic. It's very much a product of its time. I'll say that.
Which is weird because it was only 2010.
It was only 2010. It's weird to say that at this, but it is. It's that point in time where things were really starting to kind of shift, and you would see like within the next year or two where people would really start to examine. They would have really examined the behaviors of not only Sebastian but Wally and been like, okay, maybe this guy has maybe he's on the spectrum, and there's underlying things that are going on here that we should be looking at and maybe treating with a little more sensitivity. I mean, you're starting right, and you start hard with this movie where they're making fun of, not only are they body shaming, but they're making fun of some dude with Tourette's.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not the easiest watch to watch in retrospect, or easiest movie rather to watch in retrospective. This is the first time I'd ever seen it.
Oh wow, okay.
We had ended up getting it in a pile of DVDs. A friend of ours they were downsizing. They were like, oh, here's a bunch of movies if you want them, keep them or whatever. And it was friend of Patty's, so there were a bunch of there were some romantic comedies and stuff in there, and this seemed like a good idea because it was one of those Walmart deals where they pump them out at like $5 or $10 a pop, and they put a special sleeve on it with like a heart at Valentine's Day because hey, it's a romantic comedy, and you can watch it. It's kind of it's 2 or 3 different turns, and this movie is like a true crime thriller almost. So I wouldn't recommend it. There's way better romantic comedies. If that's your jam, there's way better ones out there than this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like a slight step up. I'm just gonna say that I would attempt head trauma to forget it because I think there's like little elements that I liked. Like I like Patrick Wilson's performance. I think was pretty good. He surprised me in how good his comedic acting was. Nobody's bad in the movie. That's not the issue. The issue is
it's
the
definitely
plot.
It's definitely the writing and the content.
The writing,
sure.
the way it's positioned, like there's lots of there's all the issues are there, and it's weird. It feels like it should be like a 90s comedy the way some of it goes down. But that being said, yeah, head trauma to forget it is my answer. On that note, though, we are going to take a brief break, and we will be right back.
What were they thinking?
And we're back.
Yes, we are back.
Nathan, it's time for the low haiku. What is the low haiku?
It's the low haiku is 17 perfect syllables to describe the movie we've just been talking about. And this week, the low haiku is brought to you by Uncle Wally's Limp Crisps. That's right. Tired of crispy chips? Try Uncle Wally's Limp Crisps. They have the best ingredients.
Regurgitated in my own mouth. Would you like to begin with your low haiku?
I certainly would be more than glad to. Do it in a cup. Make a fussy little pup. And be a felon.
Premise is icky. Aniston in horror film. It's Jason Bateman.
Very good, very good.
Thank you. That is a statement against Jason Bateman's character. Just want to say that for all.
It's not the Jason
No.
Bateman, who I'm sure is a very fine individual.
But Nathan, we talked about this movie. Boy, did we ever. But what do we always say?
Well, we always say...
Don't take a word for us.
Yeah, so it's not fresh, but people kind of liked it.
Yes, it's a squeaky dude.
Yeah.
Because when we were coming up, well, I told Patty that, you got to pick a movie. It's that time of year again. And she was like, oh, wait, pick whatever you want. I'm like, no, you need to pick a movie for our podcast. Well, what do you want? You don't get how this works. You know how you pick a Medea movie or something that Brendan has to watch? Do that. Well, okay. So we start she didn't want to pick a Medea movie because she felt that it was, it had been done to death. And so we started going through our vast collection of DVDs, and this one popped out because, again, the Walmart packaging with the hearts and stuff like that. She goes, oh, it's her love. Obviously it's like a Valentine-y love. Can you do that one? So I popped on the old Rotten Tomatoes, and yep, 52% with the critics, 44% with the audience. I said, sweetheart, it gets in just under the wire, but it is a rotten movie, and we can absolutely cover it. Is this your pick?
Stephen D. Gray-Danis from Decent Films Guide. So I'm guessing this was left
Let's
out.
give a great anus? Could you say?
Gray-Danis.
Oh, I thought you said great anus.
It might be great.
Are you sure this isn't an audience review?
I mean, it could be Stephen D. Great-Anus. He says, on some level, Wally is acting out on his deep feelings, and what he's doing to his quote-unquote friend is a violation of her dignity, not far removed from rape. That was a great comment from a great anus.
Lawrence Boyce of the Baltic Times writes, Bateman and Aniston are fine, but don't have any real chemistry together. Whilst the direction is flat and rather uninteresting, it has the occasional good moment, but the switch fails to push any buttons or indeed pull any switches.
They don't have a lot of chemistry. That's another thing, too.
Yeah, they're... Even like the idea that they're supposed to be together at the end, to look at them is like, nah, that's a friend couple if there ever was one.
Yeah. Mike Massel from Gone with the Twins says, the dialogue is hilarious, moving swiftly with a prattling Grant Hepburn feel, despite a completely unnecessary, nearly unrecognizable voiceover narration. He's comparing this to Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn.
You keep their names out of your mouth
Yeah.
when talking about this movie.
Yeah, this is basically Philadelphia Story. Fuck off.
Alan Hunter of the Daily Express in the UK says, Aniston still has a winning way with a comic line about but although it is really Bateman who carries this film, yet even his understated performance is consistently upstaged by young Robinson.
All right, I got one more. It's from Sarah Sluiz. Sloles, might be Sloles. I can't read today. Of the Film Journal International. She says, a misjudged lightness of tone and a predictable structure neuter the neuroticism and strange maliciousness of this Jennifer Aniston, Jason Bateman rom-com.
All right, well, my last one is actually from Kurt Loder.
Oh.
MTV. Yeah.
Can you? Is the globe behind you right now? Are you on?
Yeah, it's really a shame that the whole visual thing is lost on the podcast. Do women desirous of offspring actually throw "I'm getting pregnant" parties at which their chosen sperm donor arrives bearing baby juice in a plastic cup? 1 out of 5.
Oh, Kurt Loder going hard.
Right.
Oh. I didn't know he like just casually reviewed movies still. I guess that was like 10 years ago though. Let's get into the audience reviews here, Nathan. Let's see what the people are saying. First one I get here is from Michelle A, and she gives it half a star.
Half out of stars.
Yeah, half out of stars, sorry. So, Wally is an abuser. There's no such thing as quote-unquote the friend zone. She wanted him as a friend. He wanted more. That doesn't make her evil. Locking your best friend on a balcony at a party to prevent her from speaking to a man she's interested in. Controlling. Lying to said man and suggesting that she's on drugs to scare him away. Manipulative. And switching the sperm sample that your friend was planning on using to have a baby, thus impregnating her without her knowledge with your child. Rape. This movie is beyond offensive. Don't waste your time.
Well, this person felt differently, although I think they removed their name after several online and social media attacks. A nice, relaxing, feel-good movie. 4 out of stars.
Wrong.
Signed 4chan.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay, so this one is a little long, but it stuck out to me a lot. It's from Jackson P. Sorry, not Jackson Brown this time.
Jackson Pollock?
Okay. Yeah, sure. He watched The Switch, and this is how he felt. He gave it 1 out of stars. Last night, I watched this movie on Netflix. I don't mind an occasional romantic comedy to get some cheap laughs. I saw one with Jennifer Aniston from the 2000s. I figured, why not? At least I can look at Jennifer Aniston's middle-aged, fine wine-looking ass for an hour 45. I think this is the writer of the film, actually. So this movie was horrendous. The lead across from Jennifer Aniston, who will be abbreviated as Ja, was some guy who looked like a loser version of Hugh Grant without the cool British accent. We will call him Hughser. Get it? Like loser for now. Hughser was Ja's friend, and Ja wanted to get pregnant. I guess being a single mom is cool. Ja wanted to pick a donor and then squirt it in her cooch with a turkey baster. Ja picked this... That's not what happens, by the way. Ja picked this handsome, nice guy, no Romo, but Hughser didn't like it because he was secretly in love with Ja. At the insemination... You know what? I'm not reading the rest of it. It's horrible. It's just like, that's the whole thing.
But the thing is, it's weird because he hates the movie, but he also apparently hates women.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, good on you for hating the movie, but bad on you for not hating it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I can't even... I wrote it all down, but I can't even finish it. It's so horrible. And then, yeah, he basically... Like, the whole thing with, like, I guess being a single mom is cool. Like, fuck yourself. Absolutely fuck yourself. 1 star. 1 out of stars.
1 out of stars. Okay. Jennifer J. Wrote, super funny, exciting movie. ... 5 stars all the way. 5 out of stars. Weird to see that from a female reviewer.
The Switch, super exciting movie. I don't know if that's even the adjective I would use if I liked it. Daniel M. gives it 5 stars, and he says, a movie full of laughs, starring Jennifer A. I don't know why they need to abbreviate people's names. Like, just write her full fucking name. The sarcasm of her best friend as he aids in the raising of her son is priceless. He is the first to learn that his night of drunken masturbation led to the switching of her thought-to-be sperm donor, whom she eventually starts a relationship with. The son has the same quirky characteristics as the best friend, Jason Bateman, and the two's bond will cause you to shed tears, along with the funny plot twists mentions make this movie a romantic classic.
Brandon L. wrote-
Brandon Lee from The Crow?
Brandon Lee
Oh, shit.
came back from the dead on October 21st, 2017 to write this.
Wow.
Blatantly obvious and awkward. 2.5 out of stars.
But it still gets a 5 out of 10? All right. Okay, I just got 2 one-line reviews here that killed me. This is from Jackson K. And Jackson gives it half a star and says, offensive, not funny, reviewed by bunnies, half a star.
What?
I don't know.
By bunnies?
No idea.
Okay.
And then Karen H gives it 3 out of stars and says, 2014? I started to watch it, but then didn't finish. I don't know why her review starts with 2014, but it's funny that she didn't finish. Am I right?
Oh, the ingredients for a good review.
Yeah.
My last one here. Lanky Man P writes, and I think you kind of we touched on this as well during the whole podcast. The Switch is more of a horror film than a chick flick. 2 out of stars.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a horror film. Those are the reviews that for the Switch. Nathan, not to steal your question or whatever, but during this whole quarantine, what you watching, bud?
Well, bud, I recently watched a flick called Beerzilla.
Like a Godzilla made entirely of beer?
Yes,
Okay.
actually. Well, a Godzilla that sprung forth from the consumption of beer.
Oh.
Now, it was free on Tubi. It's definitely it's a spoof film, not much in the vein of Airplane or the Naked Gun movies, and is actually done in the vein of Airplane and the Naked Gun movies. Because a lot of people, when they do spoof movies these days, they seem to think that I'm just going to make pop culture references for 90 minutes and call it a day. See Epic Movie, Date Movie, any of the scary movies past number 2.
It's the same 2 fucking guys.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not like that. What they have done, they took, tropes from the Godzilla movies and other kaiju movies, and made fun of that. The dinosaur lizard beast is grown large due to irradiated beer. And some of the other driving comedy bits, the other bits driving the comedy, rather, in the movie, are more playing on what life was like when, like, the original Godzilla movies were being made, how, women weren't seen as equals as far as scientists go, how easily duped, people could be. This is all done very, very cheaply, which adds to the charm. It's free on Tubi. Again, I do highly recommend it, but I also recommend it highly. So an inebriant or 2 and some friends to watch it with would actually increase your enjoying the movie, but I don't feel it necessary. Do check it out. Beerzilla. It's on Tubi, and it's. I at first I was like, this is gonna be just. It was gonna be ridiculous, but I really, really found myself enjoying it, quite surprisingly. Oh, sorry guys, sorry. The movie's called Notzilla. I was thinking it was Beerzilla because beer factors heavily into the enjoyment of the movie, but also into the plot of the movie. It's called Notzilla. Notzilla. So what you been watching, bud?
What have I been watching? Well, I watched a fairly new movie. I mean, fairly new in that it came out on Christmas Day. It's a film called A Promising Young Woman. And it is a take on the revenge movie, kind of. Mm-hmm. It stars Carey Mulligan, and she basically, for the first bit of the movie, she's going to these bars and like pretending to be kind of drunk on the verge of passing out to see like, you know, what guy kind of tries to take her home and make his moves on her. And then, of course, she shows them for what they are, like super rapey. And then you kind of like, as the movie progresses, you kind of find out like what's motivating her to do this and the trauma that she kind of went through or somebody else may have gone through. And then I don't really want to say anything beyond that because it's all about finding out details as you go. But Carey Mulligan is amazing in it. Bo Burnham is in it as well. He's also pretty good. But yeah, Promising Young Woman, hearty recommendation. I will say, trigger warning, obviously, because it is about touchy subject matter, but it's not done in an exploitive way. This is not like I Spit on Your Grave. You don't see like close-ups of like, horrific imagery, but it still deals with some stuff. So next week, of course, we are going to do a Patreon pick. And I will give a little hint-ski as to what's coming up. Freestyle meets Neighbors with a twist. All right. But now, Nathan, is Montrose Monkington around to give us a few parting words?
Sure. Just 1 second. I'll get him. Come on in here. Hello. It's good friend Montrose Monkington III here. And I would just like to welcome everybody back to the return to possible sanity in the world as things are moving so far in the right direction for 2021. That being said, this is recorded on Inauguration Day, so whatever's happened between now and when this came out, don't blame the chimp. I am, as I said, Montrose Monkington III, and I would like to invite you all to my YouTube channel, Montrose Monkington TV. You can be friends with me on Facebook as well, the group Montrose Monkington III, Esquire and Friends. And you can also tweet at me on the Twitter box at Montrose III. That's the number 3D. Thank you. More later.
And you can find us all over the interwebs. You can find us on TeePublic, Redbubble. We got some merch there. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/WWTT podcast. Look for us on all the podcast apps, or you can head to our home base at Age of Radio.
Big time.
Or ageofradio.org, or you can just go straight to ageofradio.org/whatweretheythinking. You can follow us on Twitter at WWTT podcast, and also WWTT podcast on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. But with all that being said, Nathan, I guess I just have questions for you.
You have questions about this movie? Well, all right. Well, seems nigh perfect, but shoot.
I mean, I have a couple.
You go ahead and shoot.
Oh.
You know.
Well, let me come over there and ask you a question.
Well, hopefully I have the right ingredients to deal with this.
Oh, I hope I don't shoot my load all in one question. In a movie where your protagonist is problematic, to say the least, in a movie where Patrick Wilson is the villain, yet is probably the least problematic person in the movie, least problematic male in the movie,
right?
And in a movie that people in the comments said was adorable and funny and Grant Hepburn-esque. I guess I just got to ask you.
What's that?
What were they thinking?
But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't care for her. perfect